Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, friends. So we are continuing with our NJH CME. This is the final edition of the Rosidae 5th subclass that Dr. Vishpala Patsati had started for all of us. And thanks to Dr. Vishpala, specifically also Dr. Lata and Dr. Fatima and Dr. Nirupama, that all this has been put together. And I hope you enjoy and learn something as much as I did presenting it and putting it all together. Thank you. I'll just share my screen and we start. So, good afternoon once again, and we are starting with the APLs and umbellifers. So it's also called umbelliferae, but the right name is APLs or the umbellifers. This is the 5th subclass, old age. So just to refresh your memories, this is the chart, and we're talking of this last row, the old age, row 9 actually of subclass 5. Remember, it is the I and the other. This whole subclass is about I and the other. So we have finished a few, and we hope to finish most of the important of the rest. So we have finished Conium, Sumbulus, and Asafoetida, etc. And I will be doing some more today and hope to wrap it up. So just to refresh memories again, column 5, this is school age. See if we go back, so the column is also school age, and the row is old age. So you have school age and old age coming together. So the superego is very high in the school age. The split starts, the masculine and the masculine qualities increase. The split is between the feminine and the masculine qualities. The other now becomes important. The child has finished school, is coming into school and is into the big school, and now he has to listen to the teacher, the other. It's not just him and his family now. Now it is the other, the outside world. So this is all about the outside world. My relationship, my companionship, my partnership with the outside world. But there are rules to be engaged when you're interacting with the outside world, boundaries. So the father principle, authority, becomes more important here, and fanaticism, rigidity, suppression of the feminine, your emotions, superstition comes up because of the fanaticism, criticism becomes high, hierarchy, work and ambition, build the family, build the resources. So what you need for that is action, and what gets hit? Limbs and joints. So coming specifically to old age, so the characteristics of the old age, as we had, it's again a revision just to put you into perspective. All your senses slow down now, functioning slows down, physiological aging starts, right? So the previous stages of life become the basis for any successful aging. So there's a time of reflection, looking back, introspection. Have I done everything nice? Have I lived a satisfied life? If you have lived a very rich life and with responsibility, you will have a very good healthy sense of integrity, and you will face aging very, very gracefully. Otherwise, there are lots of issues. So if they see the previous eras of their life with a lot of regret, then there is failure sense, there's despair, but there is no time to repair now. You're towards the end of the life now. So second childhood, now you're growing dependence on others, but you don't want this dependency. There's a fear of death, there's a fear of pain, suffering, source of depression. So peace, the other polarity is the peaceful acceptance of self. Developing hobbies helps you to live happily. So in the APLs, which are all, most of them are culinary, they're not trees, they're just herbs here. Culinary or spices, for example, carrot, etc., celery, fennel, parsley, cumin. We did coriander already. Some of them are highly poisonous. One of them was done, conium, and some portions of Sykuta was done. Strong affinity for the GI tract and the urinary tract. And there's this split now, very, 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 very obvious between the material and the spiritual. So what are the themes of the APL family? This last family, the Umbelliferae APLs, old age and weakness, dealing with the past, inability to integrate, they're not able to put together with so much of fears of getting old, they are getting aloof, they're being secluded, nobody wants me, I'm old. This is the typical talk happening usually. This water element is getting dry, so there's dehydration, paralysis, rigidity, fixed ideas, even leading to epilepsy and convulsions. So excessive or deficient sexuality. So you have prostate problems, infertility in both male and female, impotency is there, hormonal issues are there, menopausal, postmenopausal, not bearing fruits here. And religiosity, enlightenment, or seeing the light. And childishness, because you're back to second childhood, if you remember. So let's do the first of these. It's called Aithusa Synapine. Everybody knows this, fool's parsley. I'm sure all of you have used it. If not studied it very well, fill in the blanks, definitely it comes from. Another name, Aithusa, fool's parsley or poison parsley. Let's see why. Aithusa means the burning one or the shining one. Actually, it comes from the Latin, which means a portico facing the sun. So the leaves are look very much like celery and are mistakenly used in soups, and they cause tremendous poisoning. And what is it? How does it go, the poisoning? Heat and redness in the throat, edema in the duodenum and stomach. There's convulsions, there's respiratory failure, there's cardiac arrest. Do you remember this gives a hint of anything else that was done in the subclass 5 earlier? Convulsions, respiratory failure, cardiac arrest. I don't know if you remember subclass 5, Rosidae, the womb stage, hydrocyanic acid, right? But it didn't have edema in the duodenum and heat and redness in the throat, but it had convulsions, respiratory failure, and cardiac arrest. Here it has something more, reverse peristalsis, then there's projectile vomiting, and they have violent complaints, this poisoning. So there's a suicidal disposition because you're towards the end of life, fear of dying during sleep, afraid of dying during operation. But you'll see how it is very different from aconite, which also has this fear of dying during sleep. This is subclass 5. They want to be in charge of their emotions, right? Whereas aconite has no charge of his emotions. Old age and second childhood, indicated for babies that look old and wrinkled. We didn't want to put that kind of a picture. Aithusa also has dryness. Progressively, that dehydration takes place. There's a lack of thirst and there's a dryness in the women of everything, body and mind. And respiratory failure and cardiac arrest, as mentioned before. So what is this connection with the babies? So mother and child have issues here. That is why the babies suffer. Their relationship is not natural. They do not bond well. The Aithusa baby is not able to suckle well. So they look old and wrinkled. They're not able to take in enough milk, and ends up in the respiratory failure. It's indicated for failure in cardiac arrest. And the mind. So there's a suicidal disposition here. Suicide and the fear of dying during sleep, like I said, compared to aconite. And withdrawal is by loners. They want to withdraw. They don't want to talk to others. Even babies have a difficulty. They don't want to show their emotions, but they want to, but they don't know how to. And that leaves them, don't want to talk to many. I'd rather be with my dog or my cat or some pet. They'd rather be with their animals. But all this pent-up emotions, what happens to them? So that ends up with all these lots of fears and the suicidal disposition, convulsions, epilepsy, respiratory failure, again and again you get it, and cardiac arrest. Digestion is very highly affected here. That's how it differs from aconite. It is indicated, babies can't even hold up their neck. That's the dehydration that is taking place. The females become masculine. And there's a lot of feeling that I cannot eat or drink what I want because I'll vomit. The children, the big Pqrs that everybody knows from Allen's keynotes, is mother and child connection. When babies have difficulty They don't like mother's milk. They vomit it. It curdled, it comes out projectile vomiting, and then they feel very, very drowsy. So the masculine elements are increasing over here. Women, difficulty, like we said, they can't bond. They do not communicate with their children well. Child doesn't like mother's milk. So he vomits and vomits, which ends up in, or maybe diarrhea, becomes very weak. And then if not looked into, it ends up in cholera, looking old. So this kind of vomiting with cheesy vomitus and then drowsy is the Pqrs of Aithusa, Synapine. So how do we look at this in a nutshell? It's an end of old age, second childhood. They look old. The babies look old and wrinkled. By the looks, observation, Dr. Hahnemann's notable way of understanding unprejudiced observation. Need to look young, good, beautify self, to preserve one's appearance all the time. They're bothered. I'm growing old, I'm growing old, I don't want to grow. That is the old age of subclass 5. No? That's the last portions of the feminine and trying to inch its head out, but the masculine has completely overtaken it. They want to dress good. They want to talk all the time thinking about what they wore yesterday. Childish, na? Who will think of all the time what you wore yesterday? Very childish. And then there's a tendency to convulsions. There's a diarrhea of the children, weakness, old people, even leading to EDC, no? Examination funk and things like that everybody knows about, if connected with the digestive system. Fear of death, fear of the dark, fear of dying in sleep, suicidal disposition, wants to throw himself out of the window, cries over deteriorating health. That's all they can do. Inability to fix attention, fear something bad will happen, superstitious beliefs. There's a dryness of emotions, though wants to communicate, and finally ends up loving animals. No? They're the only people that give you back that connection. Dehydration, babies unable to hold up neck, death-related issues, cardiac failure, respiratory failure. Please remember, subclass 5 is all about this connection that they want to do with the outer world. And they feel very terribly stifled over here in Aithusa that they're not able to. And that's coming from inside. So let's look at a case that was treated with this. A teenage girl who suffers from colitis, bleeding, abdominal pain, burning sensation in her diaphragm when she gets annoyed. The condition starts even before her exams. She tends to get very stressed before exams, studies a lot but loses her concentration from the slightest noise. She finds it difficult to concentrate because she keeps thinking small things, no? Keeps thinking about things, oh, I didn't manage this, I didn't do this, instead of focusing on what she has done. Meaningless thoughts, repeatedly. Very, very sensitive, full of compassion for humans and animals, can't bear to hear bad news. They cannot process it. Always feels that she needs to please others. Otherwise, she's ill at ease. Always worries that something bad is going to happen to someone in the family. She's a too good child, says the mother. But she's very pedantic, always taking everything out, rearranging the room, this kind of fixed views. It's not an OCD, but she just wants it to be in that particular order. And then she likes to read children's books. Nothing sad or scary, always happy endings. Childish expressions during the interview, cold, but not thirsty at all. So this combination of extreme childishness, fear of exams, great sympathy for human beings and animals, together with digestive problems and nausea, led to Aithusa. The follow-up with the remedy, the pre-exam stress and the anxiety decreased. She started to excel in her studies. Before she would put in effort, but results were not in accordance due to the pressure that she felt all the time. The digestive problems disappeared and she sleeps better. This is from Irit Vishlitsky from Yakiv's book. It's the second case. A 4-year-old boy with severe asthma attacks from the age of 2. We've been talking of mother, child, right? Here's a lovely example. He had convulsions in his mother's arms. Each attack starts with a heavy coryza and a tendency for vomiting phlegm. Sometimes oral steroids were needed when the inhaler wasn't enough. A great need for air, severe coughing every morning when he gets up with the vomiting of yellow matter. He suffered from constipation for a few months and complained of severe abdominal pains. The abdominal pain is spasmodic, and then he vomits. spasmodic, and then he vomits. Crampy, vomiting. Cramping and ejection. So this is a typical Pqrs of this remedy. He cannot stand dirt, doesn't want anybody touching his things and transmitting bugs. So scared of infection. Withdrawn. He's too, imagine. Withdrawn. Doesn't make contact during the interview. Though at home he likes hugs and kisses. So scared of the other. Can't communicate with the other. Unfamiliar. It takes him a long time to form a bond, and he always has only one good friend. That's it. His parents separated, and this situation is difficult for him, especially since they returned from India, where he had a 24/7 nanny. He misses India because here abroad in Europe, you don't have all this facilities. The mother lives near her own father, and despite the fact that his grandfather is an interesting man, this child does not exchange even one word with him. He is very attached to his mother, as it's very difficult for him to connect to others. So it took a long time to connect with other children in his kindergarten. Look at this connect that is repeating each time. There is a deep sadness in his eyes, withdrawn look. When he started to talk in the clinic, he spoke mainly about animals. That's all. He loves animals very much, except for snakes. He's fastidious, hates to get dirty, eats very slowly in his own time, and is very sensitive to smells. He complains about aches in his knees and loves to dance. He enjoys rice and dal and can't eat any dairy. That's another big giveaway. The mother is also an animal lover. The house is full of cats and dogs. She says, I was so attached to my husband. It was like a flower to its root. Now what to do? I have what to do? I have left to love only animals. So the physician was taking the mother and child's case, and always the history of the mother is so important, no? So she's a person of rules and boundaries. This is what is needed, and this is how it should be done. This is the way, this isn't. No, she's all part of all this. Closed heart and discipline with rules. This is subclass by just like that. According to, so which row? According to her, what keeps her alive is her work. So she's a work. She's also sensitive to milk and suffers a lot from flatulence. So this regret, old age, not bonding. After the mother took Aithusa and was helped by it, the child also received Aithusa. And look at the magic. With the remedy, he opened up, started to bond with his grandfather. He started to going to him, building things with him with his toys. His health has improved. The coughing stopped. In the past, he was sick every 2 weeks. Now he's hardly sick, and he heals very quickly without complications. No vomiting since the remedy, no spasms, no convulsions, not in the lungs, nor even in the abdomen. He's a sensitive child who has opened up. This is by Havan Nehe. Let's go to the next one. So we did fool's parsley, now we're doing parsley. This looks so much like kothmir, right? Petroselinum sativa. Everybody knows this. Fill in the blanks remedy again. No? Urinary, old age urinary issues. Parsley is a culinary herb, but do you know it is rich in vitamin C, iron, folic acid, antioxidants? Abroad, it's a huge part of all naturalists and herbalists' armamentarium. First thing they do is have parsley juice or have parsley in your salad. A diuretic plant, very important remedy for KUB, no? Burning, constant tingling from perineum throughout the whole urethra. Neck of bladders inflamed, cutting, drawing, stitching pain during, after urination. Even urethral strictures, it helps. Sudden, with these symptoms, sudden irresistible urge to urinate, copious urine, burning, milky, gonorrhea, intense biting, itching deep in the urethra, frequent voluptuous tickling in the fossa navicularis. It gets very embarrassing sometimes. You have a lot of elderly women coming with it. Painful urination in kids. They're jumping up and down with pain if they are not immediately taken to the bathroom. This is an affinity for the lower part of the body. Piles with much itching. That's the keynote, right? Urinary symptoms and piles with much itching. Prostate issues, priapism, painful. The feminine elements are cramped. They're painful, absent, in very plethoric women, you know? Sudden sharp pain, so severe that with the menses pain, there's this urinating pain, and she shivers and then dances around the room in agony. This double agony is too much for her. Hungry, but repulsed from the sight of food. when stuck at the end of any stage and unable to move on. This is a huge remedy. Piles with much itching, some KUB symptoms, and especially this cramped feeling and wants to agonizing pain, during and before urination, severe, and that should lead you to this remedy. Let's look at a simple case, and this is from the Links, 1997. A middle-aged lady came for severe itching in perineum that started when she was looking for a job as a high school teacher. She had just finished raising her kids and was looking for a new avenue. She was afraid of finding work at her age and was willing to take on anything, even if it didn't appeal. A thought that was really upsetting her. And this itching all the time. Petroselinum 30 was given. The itching disappeared, and within 2 months, she found the teaching job, and her heart was relieved. Next one, Philandrium. Such beautiful looking flowers. They're all umbelliferae, They all you feel as if there's an umbrella. Beautiful flowers. This is very distinctive. This is the tubercular myasm. Philandrium is tubercular myasm in the umbelliferae. Distinctive respiratory symptoms, offensive expectoration, cough in the TB, bronchitis, emphysema, TB of the mid lobes. This is curious, very interesting. Everything tastes sweet. Nose is always full of mucus. Also the polarity, dryness of the mucous membrane because end of the column. Nose, eyes, throat, mouth all get dry. And there is a dizziness on lying. Usually you'd like to lie down when you're dizzy. Here, on lying, there's a dizziness. And very, very sensitive to light. Again, there's problem with milk and breast because milk is part of water element, feminine element. So as we go down the column, then this is a suppressed so high, issues are bound to happen. Mastitis, pain in the milk ducts, intolerable between nursing. That's the Pqrs here in Philandrium. Between nursing, there's pain in the milk ducts and the nipples are painful. However, there's an exception. In a multipara, there is a pain in the breast while nursing because she feels anxious. She feels she's not good enough, maybe insufficient milk, which is Rho8, or she's not good enough for the baby, losing confidence in her motherly quality. She's an elderly lady now, elderly mother. She's already had 4-5 children. Or in her ability to produce the fruit, So there is a lot of anxiety. So there's a pain in the breast while nursing. Whereas in younger women, the problem is milk ducts pain, intolerable between nursing. Then there is superstitious here. I feel old, tendency to sadness, alternating with exaggerated cheerfulness. So they feel paralyzed, tired, want to move but can't. And then dreams of efforts that don't bear fruit, which is the characteristics of this row 9. Then we come to Oenanthes crocata. Oenanthes.
Dr. Rama?
Yes.
Can you just do it full screen?
Oh shit, sorry, it is not full screen. So sorry. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Yeah, much better.
Thank you. Thanks, Fatima. So this poisonous plant grows in damp soil with fleshy roots. It resembles celery actually, and often mistaken for it. Now it has a, just like Aithusa, this also is a poisonous plant. So it leaves so rapidly, it gives potent death, in 1 or 2 hours of heart failure. Great heat in the throat, unconscious, terrible convulsions here. Over there in Aithusa, there was heat in the throat, there was swelling of the diaphragm and the abdomen, and then there came this feeling of cardiac unconsciousness. Here, great heat, unconsciousness, convulsions are there, livid face, dilated, fixed pupils, bloody foaming mouth, and stertorous breathing. Your typical average picture of epilepsy. This is the acute myasm, Oenanthes. It can be very, very beautifully used in an acute condition in the umbelliferae family. Again, if umbelliferae family characteristics are there. It is commonly found in Europe and UK. Its roots were used to treat dizziness, anxiety, epilepsy in the olden times. Repeated poisoning produced seizures and facial spasms, causing raised eyebrows with a sardonic grin, like a joker, that appearance. It also, and that is actually, if you remember this picture, this is how you can remember Oenanthes. You don't even have to study this remedy, or you don't have to by heart. It also produced a drowsy dizziness, like drunkenness. And so the name, oenos in Greek means wine. So Oenantha crocata. Epilepsy, sudden onset, convulsions, no aura, sudden loss of consciousness, falls backwards, uttering a loud cry. This is the Pqrs. This is how we will use Oenantha. And they will end up with that face, that sardonic face. Childlike reaction to a perceived strong threat from the outside world. The situation is so overwhelming, such a severe response, they go into epilepsy. Sudden convulsion. There's no aura, nothing. And the loss of consciousness, they're falling backward, uttering a loud cry. And this convulsions and vertigo, fainting is followed by numbness, stupefaction, dullness, and sleep. You have the entire sensation of the Umbelliferae family here. Some threat from the outside is perceived as a strong threat, like a blow, like a riot, like a stab, very, very strong. And then what is the response? It's a violent response. Sudden onset of convulsion, no aura, sudden loss of consciousness, falling backward, uttering a loud cry, and then followed by numbness, stupefaction, dullness, and sleep. Very, very sleepy. So how is this makeup? First stage, they tend to be very cheerful, very frantic, lively, childish antics, impulsive. They're making everybody laugh. The Joker. Remember that Joker face. Later, attacks of rage, madness, expressions of convulsions at all emotional levels. And the rage is very bad when they are contradicted. The tendency to play the fool, laughs, offends, swears, bites, injure themselves as though intoxicated. There's a madness to this play. It's not a normal play. From lack of feminine energy, the response is coarse. That is why that tendency of it's tending to be an unhealthy play. It's not just an innocent play. There's a destructiveness that can reach mania. This is what sets it apart from all the other childish remedies. This madness or head injury or stroke can simulate sudden attack of epilepsy. Delusion, he's dead. Huge emptiness. Delusion. Memory weakness, memory loss of. Then there's a desire to be mesmerized. Epilepsy, very, very connected with menses. So either suppressed menses, before menses, during menses, and in what kind of women? Materialistic and cheerful women. The cheerfulness is important. First stage of cheerfulness. And they're very materialistic because they're still subclass 5. They haven't moved. Sudden attacks of sciatica because the lower body always is getting affected, old age and umbelliferae. So spasmodic coughs with loss of speech. Tongue can be swollen and get ulcerated. These are night birds. No? They want to have fun. No? And a different kind of fun. Rigidity, end of column, and sudden outbursts. So the differential diagnosis here would be Artemisia vulgaris, which is but in subclass 6 composited. That is the next column, last row, where the convulsions are also very from violent emotions, but they come in long intervals of rest. It may come suddenly or many attacks may come together, and the miasm is different, malarial miasm. Here, Oenanthes is an acute miasm. Of course, you have the periodic table leader, Cypromet, leader for epileptics, right? Epilepsy, nocturnal, regular periods. This is a heavy metal, no? So regular periods, during dentition, suppression of exanthema, nocturnal, with coldness of extremities. In umbellifera, it's Sykuta and conium, which we will be dealing with later. Then we come to ginseng. Again, a naturalist and a herbalist, favorite part of how to lure people now to revive, to revitalize. Ginseng is a huge one, no, for this. There are loads and loads of on YouTube, no? Videos, write-ups, everything. So old age remedy. In the umbelliferae family, subclass 5, lowest portion of the column, 9th row. So the plant's root resembles the lower part of the human body, and that's where its power lies. I'll just go back. See, look at the roots. It looks like a human body. This root contains phytochemicals, steroids. It produces alertness, an explosion of energy where all the energy gets consumed and perishes. Then exhaustion sets. It's like a sudden burst of energy. In traditional Chinese medicines, it was used for revitalizing, restoring the vital force, increasing immunity, clearing the mind, renewing sexual potency, especially for men. Ginseng is associated with the human efforts to achieve longevity and evade death. It's a huge legend. There are many legends around it in Chinese literature. Very, very used very ardently by the Chinese. And of course, Koreans and Japanese subsequently. Lack of vitality and flexibility in the organs. That is the big thing, where this leading you to ginseng. Stiff, weak, painful, very rigid limbs. Remember, lower extremities. General fatigue is usually with restlessness and irritability because there is some energy and it's not being used. Initially, there is vigor, courage, persistence. The masculine tendency to hurry and act forcibly is there, but it needing control. But they tend to use up this energy until totally exhausted, mentally and physically. So then there is a fear of accidents, misfortune, riding in a carriage when, and this confusion of mind, this dullness, weakness of memory, don't want to think, don't want to work. Any mental work is impossible. No? Hurry, hasty movements, impatience, impulsive, internal restlessness, weeping. Then there is the other polarity, stupefaction, content, tranquil, serenity, calmness. All your herbal teas with ginseng will highlight these qualities. Row 9, old age, so sexual weakness. It helps increase testosterone. Excuse me for a moment, please. Also may have high libido with increased painful erection and priapism. Later, this becomes a low sexuality, feels like an old man, life doesn't bear fruit, and wants alcohol to stimulate. There's also another nice quality of this, no? There's lancinating pains, increased heat of the lower body with upper body cool. This split, no, between the two sides. Right side is affected, and right side is the masculine side. So in women, it invokes masculine energy. So you have warrior women. So all the legendary warrior women are supposed to have a swig of ginseng before they go into battle. That's what the legend says. What are the physical particulars? This ptosis of the upper eyelids. Difficult, damaged eyesight. Eyes is very important in ginseng. Eyes. Can't see clear path ahead. White, black dots, letters merge when they read. Pupils are contracted, occipital headache, vertigo. Elasticity of the muscles are lost. Stiff, weak, painful limbs. Subclass 5 characteristics. No? And acts on the lower spinal cord. Like mentioned before, backache, bruised pain, stiff pain, right sciatica, right-sided, the masculine side. Possible paralysis due to weakness, lumbago, rheumatism, impotency, tabes dorsalis, locomotor ataxia. Another peculiarity here is the liver pain radiating to the groin, appendicitis extending to right abdomen. So everything is going towards the right. Do think of ginseng. We never think of it in any acute, but do think it has some peculiar symptoms. There's a tendency to hiccup, swollen abdomen, feeling anxious, and don't want any tight clothes on abdomen. You have a lot of elderly people coming with these symptoms. Please look into it. If they have, it's a big geriatric medicine. This kind of right hypochondria pain, which is radiating to the groin. There's an appendicitis pain extending to right abdomen. There's a tendency to hiccup, swollen abdomen. They don't want to wear any tight clothes around it. They feel very anxious. And it's not gas that they're talking about. Sexual weakness. So the summary, sexual weakness, low sex drive. It's a known aphrodisiac, right? Restlessness and irritability, plus general fatigue, occipital headache, and unclear thinking. The concomitant, very important here, is the eye issues. Also, this is the general characteristics of the column. Muscle elasticity is lost, stiff, weak, painful limbs, backache. Then the right-sidedness, no? Right sciatica, right liver pain, radiating to groin, lancinating pains. So far, is the pace okay? Any questions, Fatima? Any questions have come up in the chat by any explanations anybody needs before I proceed to the next? Okay, I will continue. We come to Hydrocodile, the Indian Pennywort. Now, this is from our continent. It's a huge remedy, and as we should be, as Indian homeopaths, looking into it and seeing how much we can use it. So why is it different? Part of the old age umbelliferae, column 5, row 9. It's the end of the column. So the dryness is prominent. But Hydrocodile reverted to living in water. So there's a strong conflict between dryness and fluidity. So this is Yakir, the evolutionary botanist, has pointed out. In olden days, it used as an agent to connect left and right sides of the brain. How beautifully, because the next column is all about integrating the feminine and the masculine aspects. So here they're already precursor to it. There's a strong split is present between inner feelings and the real situation. They are not able to integrate, as though one's body is getting old and weak, but unable to accept it. This is huge. Please remember this. They want to stay young, to be with the flow, wanting to be social, talkative, but the body is shouting its own. All the wrinkles are all there. No? The tired limbs. This conflict creates a destructive condition. Very destructive, syphilitic, terminal. This end situation they can't accept. We have a lot of elderly people who are towards the end of their lives, who are bedridden maybe, or who are nearly there. And they don't want to accept that they've grown old. They somehow want to be, hey, this is paining here, that is paining here, this is, oh, this is there, this is there. There's a lot of fear of death. It's an inevitable. By this time, we should be doing it, thinking of peacefully moving to the next realm. But there is no acceptance. And that's when all these remedies come up in a huge way. Like ginseng, it helps longevity. So, in this rigidity of the APLs in the old age expression, speciality of Hydrocodile is the hardening of connective tissue. Everybody knows this, right? We've all used this in mother tincture, but you can use this as a phase remedy or even as a constitutional in potency. This hardening of this connective tissue, rheumatism of the joints, inflammation, feeling heavy in the prostate, this urinary obstruction, feminine element is being upset. No, only peculiar here, only women are prone to jaundice with severe acne also is there in this remedy. Pains are sharp and sudden. Spasms are characteristic of APL. So this nerve pain in the cheek, in the uterus, nape of neck, abdomen, intestines, you name it. Everywhere they'll have sharp, sudden pain. Drawing, sore, bruised pains are also there. The skin affinity. This is the most prominent thing of Hydrocodile. Hardening and drying up. So all conditions and all syphilitic conditions, this is the end of the line. Ichthyosis, lupus, systemic disease that what is lupus? It's a systemic disease that damages joints, generates excess water. And you have this typical butterfly-like thickening mask-like of the facial skin, no? Especially on cheeks. That is the sign of lupus. Leprosy and vitiligo. So this is all coming into syphilitic tendency, epithelioma, elephantiasis, everything that is hardened, dried up. Even wounds are slow to heal, no? In the aged. Dry, thickened flakes, eczema with thick peel, no? Farrington says. Very thick. Not the small sticky ones like Natromol. This is thick. And psoriasis and acne. It's one of Borik's 6 acne remedies. Can you believe it? Please use it. Please read it up today. And please use it in the clinic and share with us on NJH all your experiences of using Hydrocodile. It is an Indian remedy. I'm sure we'll have many Indians suffering who will need Hydrocodile. Indurated growth on eyelid. Again, lot of old age people. Geriatrics, this is a huge, big remedy that you must keep when you visit elderly people. Internal heat with external coldness. This is a very, very characteristic of hydrocodile. There's a flow issues here, no? The inside and the outside don't mingle. This is the characteristics of hydrocodile. Heaviness of organs, like an old person. They're unable to stand straight, no back pain. Oh, I can't stand. That's the first complaint no, grandmothers will give you. And there is liver damage. They want company, but they feel they're too old for it. They have low sexual desire. They're better by rest and hot tea anytime. नहीं यार तुम लोग जाओ ना they come for a movie na tata why don't you come for a movie no kanna you people go I'll come another day no? Typical you they say no my ex no I can't sit for so long I can't stand I can't walk typical but explore find out where is their basic issues lying if it is skin please think of hydrocodile rule it out first so in the female genital organs also, you have a lot of issues here. Cervical bleeding ulcers, cancer of the uterus, polyps, internal heat in vagina, leukorrhea is there. There's a low sexual desire, pruritus is there, heaviness is there, prolapse of the uterus, constipation. Everything related to fertility just gets old. I remember my teacher talking about, I'll share with you one case on this. My teacher gave one to a I think it was a 39 or a 40-year-old lady way back when I first joined 35 years ago, 36 years ago. And I remember I was stunned and I had never heard of this. And of course, I was very, very new to homeopathy. And this was this lady who was having a lot of issues with her uterus. There was constipation and she had some cervical bleeding ulcers. Bleeding was also there. Some polyp was there, but most important was this thickening of her facial skin was happening. And at 36, and very syphilitic family history, even her own history, she had some few miscarriages and things like that. And my teacher gave her Hydrocodile 30. It's imprinted in my brain. And within a few months, I think she repeated it once a fortnight. In 3 months, she was as good as new. I just couldn't believe it was the same lady again. I mean, her face had just cleared up so beautifully. So it's not just old people. It can even be younger people. But remember, the characteristics of the remedy. That's all that Dr. Hanuman said. Match it and dare to be brave. Hydrocodile healing quality is very different from most APLs. Because of the water element's flowy nature, they're communicators. They're talkative, they're generous, they're cheerful people. People confide in them. They're easy to talk to. Yet, there is dryness and hardening also seen in the mind. Opposite polarity. Because of the split, this is subclass 5. So there's sad, persistent thoughts. They want to be alone. They're listless. They're tired. They don't want to come. And there's coldness in the extremities. No? How they come to the clinic? There's coldness, there's contraction. I have cramps. I have numbness. I have aching pain. Many remedies, hundreds of remedies. Then there is a disorder of the blood flow in the legs. There's swelling, edema, even up to elephantiasis. There's no pain, but there's a lot of swelling. And then one peculiarity, sensation as if warm water running through marrow of the bones. If this comes through, it's hydrocodile. Blindly you can give it. I'm sure it will help you. And they don't want to accept their age gracefully, and they're all the time preoccupied about beautifying their skin. They're forever asking you, what should I put for this? No, it's drying up. Hello, at 65, it will start drying up. No, what can I put? No, I have to go for a party tone. Somebody else, I remember telling me, "Idhar itna wrinkles hai. I need these wrinkles to go away. My son is getting married next week." Excuse me, how old are you now? I am going to be 70 in a few months. Ma'am, there's nothing one can do. That is called aging. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Nobody's going to look at it. All the attention will be on your son and daughter-in-law to be. But they're all the time coming with this. Then we come to Sykuta. Again, you look at it, like an umbrella shaped. So there's a case. We'll start with a case in this. This is a case of a pregnant lady. This is Dr. Lata's case. Dr. Lata, would you like to come in? Would you like to come in, Dr. Lata? Okay. In case there's any clarifications, you can always ask Dr. Lata. This is a 30-year-old patient who was pregnant with her first child. After trying 5 years, it was a precious pregnancy. The sudden shock came in her 8th month when she came to know her husband was having an affair with his friend's wife. The fragile sensitivity of this lady made her go in a state of shock and sadness. Imagine, 8th month, and your husband is having an affair with somebody else. The patient developed hysterical convulsions and stopped responding to near and dear ones. She refused to eat and was lying in bed. Seeing her state, the gynecologist advised emergency elective C-section because the health of the child was very important at this stage. The C-section was done. The relatives were approached. And in day 2, they came for help, as the baby too was not crying and not sucking at all, because that state of the mind of the lady, of the mother, was so strong. So what was the approach to this case? It was all on observation and what was heresy told, right? So the rubrics taken were sadness, melancholy, company aversion to, avoids the sight of people, quiet, dull, sluggish, this was on one hand, does not recognize his own relatives, and convulsions, patient's gaze was fixed, spasm of the neck, and the remedies that came up were Sykuta and opium. So Sykuta, this is a plant called the cowbane or water hemlock in the north. It is a poisonous species found in the North and Central Europe, North Asia and North America. Remember, poisonous plants will give you tremendous responses. They're very wild responses that will come because they're poisonous plants. Grows along edges of cultivated fields. One of the most toxic plants, perennial, herbaceous, and the toxin is Sykutoxin. That's the toxin. It causes stimulation of the central nervous system, resulting in seizures. Big remedy for seizures in the young. It blocks the GABA receptor, causing block in the chloride channel, resulting in depolarization, which continues unabated, resulting in convulsions and a dazed mental state. It also has many autonomic symptoms with altered perceptions and heart rate, which is increasing, and death from paralysis of the respiratory muscles eventually. So this theme is high sensitivity and reactivity to a sad news and shock. So this reaction is with very deep sadness and melancholy. Patient is usually blank, not responding to anyone. The hurt and pain is caused by the near and dear ones who she trusts the most. Her husband, in this case, can completely cut off with anger with the person who troubles or hurts her. Both polarities. That touch of cruelty is there in old age, in the end of column 5 in old age in Umbelliferae. Patient was given 1 dose of Sykuta 1M and then daily for 3 days. And sorry, there's some feedback.
Rama, I just came in because I was just unmuted. Sorry.
Okay. So you want to say anything here, Dr. Lata? Would you like to say something, Dr. Lata? Would you like to add? Patient was given 1 dose of Sykuta 1M and then daily.
No, I think you're doing a great job, Doc. Continue. I think the host is finding it difficult to unmute and mute.
Okay.
All right. Carry on. You're doing a great
job. Maybe you can come in at the end for questions. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Lata. Patient recovered from her shock. She also connected to the child. Incidentally, the child was given opium 1M, 1 dose, and it was able to get back its suckling reflex and crying. Let us see what is the big difference. Sykuta uses very primitive defenses, like regression to a child state as a reaction to shock and hurt from its near and dear ones. Whereas opium is the stupor state with a blank look. That's the difference. So both Sykuta and opium, 2 big remedies we have learned today in convulsions, stupor. So Sykuta, childish, childlike defenses. Regression to a child state as a reaction to shock and hurt from its near and dear ones. Just to give you an aside, I remember one of the early NGH, very early NGH seminars where Dr. Parina Sumranawala was giving a little exposure into how to recognize from observation a case. And she showed us this video of this young child who was brought in with a history of convulsions. And what was he doing? He was jumping around up and down in the clinic. He was just like a on a pogo stick, just jumping around all the time. One would think of spider remedies, but no, the child was very, very sensitive and very reactive. And Sykuta cured that child. When she came in for a follow-up in that video, she was so normal and just aram se sitting and talking to Dr. Parinas. Thank you, Dr. Parinas. So how you compare Sykuta and conium in convulsions? They're the most poisonous remedies in Umbelliferae. Dr. Shaji Kuti had already taken conium in an earlier episode of this series. So we just trying to put it all together here. So Sykuta, the convulsions are with spasms of the neck and back, like an epistaxis. Whereas in conium, it's a sudden, unexpected violence or attack. There are sudden convulsions in Sykuta. Here in conium, there's a withdrawing from the world. Here it ends in a deep, exhaustive stage of mind and body, stupor. Whereas the cause here is usually pathological. There's an underlying tumor that has caused this. There's moaning, howling, hysterical during an attack. Here there is heavy, weak, paralyzed limbs. They're just withdrawing. They're just numb, almost muscular weakness is there. Patient here will not remember anything. There's sweat on the hands. Here, this cause is usually a shock or a head injury, a tremendous emotional shock or a shock that the patient perceives as being a tremendous shock or a head injury. Very big remedy for convulsions after head injury. Sykuta is a 3-mark remedy, 4-mark. And in conium, it is always better raising the legs. So, thank you to the NJH team, Dr. Fatima, Dr. Lata, Dr. Shaji, Dr. Nirupama, thank you very much for all your inputs, and Dr. Fatima for all the backup. You were the back end completely for all this series. Thank you so much. Thank you to all my NJH EB family. You have always been very, very supportive. Thank you to Dr. Vishpala Pathasarthi, who has given this opportunity. Thank you to all my mentors and teachers and colleagues at MLD, MHI Bangalore, Swara, and National Academy of Homeopathy, Nagpur, IPEMA, and of course, Aurobindo Society. Thank you very much. Dr. Lata, would you like to come in? And any questions would you like to take? I can stop sharing. You come in. Come in, Dr. Lata.
There is no questions in the chat box. 1 second. Huh? They have just said thank you, Doc.
Wow. No questions. All new remedies. Yeah. Please, my sincere request, humble request, please try out these remedies, make your notes and send it to us. We will publish it. NGH is open for everybody, provided you have systematically documented your cases.
Yeah, so, well done, Doc. I think it was very clear.
In time. So it's 4:27. Dr. Fatima, we are in time.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all of you who participated so diligently. So with this, we end our NJH subclass 5 series, and we will coming shortly with some new announcements about the CME. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.